finished first, number 5, going 19 squared plus c squared, you get what c squared equals. You take the square root. That's the decimal answer that you are looking at. Question number 10 is a great question, so I want you to turn and look at question 10. As you are looking at question number 10, when you are setting up question number 10, you have to use the Pythagorean theorem. It tells you this length is 10 by counting, this length is 18, and I had people either getting answers of 20.59 or 20.6. That's correct. You did not do it wrong. I do need to see this work of how you got this by taking 10 squared plus 18 squared, okay? But the question doesn't ask you to find this side. It says find the perimeter. So when you go to find the perimeter, you have to add all the sides. And then they tell you that each side is not really 10, 18, and 20.6. Each one is 100, each of these blocks is 100 yards. So 10 is actually going to be 10 times 100, which is 1,000 yards. That's what 10 was. How did we get 1,000? Because it was times 100. Then we have to add this side, right? So it's like you're walking around here. You're walking the path. From here to here, that's 1,000. This is going to be 1,800 yards. Plus, you have to take this number times 100. That's how you get that solution. So some people just didn't know they had to add those together. Number 11 also asks you for the perimeter. How many Pythagorean theorems did I need to see in number 11?
2.
2 of them. And then you were adding all the sides. Okay? So, I want to Friday. There are 14 points. 14 questions, 52 points. It will still be out of 100. Okay? So, first standard. What do you want to write down for your first standard? I can explain the Pythagorean theorem. There will be 3 questions, 10 points total. I can explain the Pythagorean theorem. Write that. So if you write it now, then we can fill this blank in and we're going to go to each one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you specifically, what shape does it work for? What's the only shape the Pythagorean theorem works for? You've got to be more specific than triangle. It has to be for a right triangle. So on the test, I'm going to say, what kind of triangle does this Pythagorean theorem always work for? You have to answer with a right triangle, right? I am going to ask you to write out the theorem. What is the theorem? A squared plus c squared equals c squared. You got to write that out, okay? Then I'm going to give you a word bank and a picture, and I'm going to explain that a little later. So we're going to have these 4 filled out, and then I'm going to show you what that word bank kind of is going to look like and how you're going to be answering that part, okay? The second standard that you are going to be doing is you look at our poster. The next standard says, I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side length. 5 questions, 24 points. This is going to be some perimeter questions in here. This is going to be when we are taking a look and you're trying to find, like in your review questions, maybe it's a volume you're trying to find, but it's finding, not just using the Pythagorean theorem to find that missing side, it's then maybe finding the perimeter of the shaded region, or finding the perimeter of how much you walked. So like those review questions, it's going to be like a 2-step question. So you can't just get like the C value. You're going to have to do something with that and understand what they're asking you. Okay? The third standard from our poster says that I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the converse. So I can use the converse of our Pythagorean theorem. The converse means you have to be able to tell me on the test, it is a acute triangle, it was an obtuse triangle, or it was a right triangle. There are questions worth 8 points. So I will give you, maybe I'll put a squared plus b squared, and I won't put this symbol in here, greater than. And you'll have to tell me, in order for it to be acute, a squared plus b squared has to be greater. Or I might say, if these are two triangles, two sides of a acute triangle, what could be the third side, right? So if you add these two, it just has to be bigger than this side squared. So looking at that. So making sure you know acute is when it is going to be greater, obtuse is less, and right is equal. Okay? So those that's our main standard there. And then the last standard that we are going to be taking a look at on the test is that I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find distance in a coordinate plane, B7, right? 2 questions, 10 points. Okay, 2 questions, 10 points. You have your triangle drawn with sides A, B, C, right angle. You have the squares coming off. Then I want you to put a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then we are going to write this. So this is what that first question of you using a word bank to explain the Pythagorean theorem. The area, right, that's what we're talking about, of the square of leg A, the area of the square of leg A plus the area of the leg of square B is going to be equal to the area of the square of the hypotenuse. So this is an area. We are talking about the area equaling this last area. So what you're going to be asked to do, if I'll give you a word bank, and you will then fill in different ones to make this statement. But this is what we are talking about for our whole Pythagorean theorem. It's the leg, area of the leg plus area of the leg equals area of the hypotenuse, as you are taking a look at. When you're studying for the test, you are shooting for the 8th grade learning standards. So can you explain it? I can explain it, not just the formula. I can explain that it works only for right triangles. The next learning standard, I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find an unknown sides in 3 real world and 2-dimensional ones. If we are looking at our next standard, I can use the converse to tell if it's right, acute, or obtuse. And then the last one, finding the distance. So as you look at each of those, yeah.
I wasn't done there. I had like 2.
Okay. Triangle off of here. Please tell me the 2 side lengths of that right triangle. We're going to make another right triangle off of up here. I can tell this one is 1 and, is it 7? Count, please. And 2 and, so this first one, James W., what'd you get? What are my 2 sides? Just count it. We're on this page. I want everyone on this page. So what are my 2 sides? This one was 1 and 7. This is what and what? Look in your page. It'll be easier. Be ready if I call on you for the other sides. So I got 1, 7, right? 2 and, what's the other side of that triangle? So we got 5 here. Is it 5 and 5? Yep. Okay. And 2 and was the side 6? Okay. So what do you have to do is you have to do 3 Pythagorean theorems. Someone said, can I just do it all on my calculator? Okay, so here's the deal if you do it on your calculator or on the test. I see nothing, right? Because it's on your calculator and you didn't write it down. And if it's wrong, I can't give you any points. Whereas, if I would see 5 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared is equal to 50, c equals the square root of 50, which is, and I see that answer here. I can give you points for that, right? I know what you did. And then I see the next one, and I see you go, oh, well, for this triangle, to find this C2, okay? And why am I calling them C1, C2, and C3? Because they're all going to be different lengths. And that's the side length, that's side C. So this is side C, this is, so when I do this triangle up here to find this length, I'm going to go with 1 squared plus 7 squared, right, equals C squared. And I need to do this one. And someone said, you know what, there's not enough room or space for me to show that work, Mrs. Thompson. Well, then do it on a separate sheet and make sure you attach that with it, okay? So, key thing, question 1 and 2, you got to do like 3 Pythagorean theorems to add together to the one side. Please turn and look at number 3. Amy, when you read number 3, what does it tell us to find? The original height of the pole. So, what's the part of the pole that we know? No, we know how tall it is so far where it broke, right? Right here it broke and it was how tall? 6 feet. So if we're going to find the original, right, we have to take 6 feet plus this length, right? So you have to read the question, and on the test, probably the most hardest thing of correcting is that everyone will stop here. Or they'll maybe show some work, but then will not show all the work. As you do question 1, check the answer in the back. If you're off by just 1 decimal point or something, you're good. But if you're off by a ton, like by 10 or by 5 or by 7, you want to go back and take a look at your work and let me help you, okay? So, in class today,